love the thought of a car drifting apparently endlessly through space and perhaps being discovered by an alien race millions of years in the future. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Talent is extremely important. It's like a sports team. The team that has the best individual player will often win, but then there's a multiplier from how those players work together and the strategy they employ. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is a disaster. To make an embarrassing admission, I like video games. That's what got me into software engineering when I was a kid. I wanted to make money so I could buy a better computer to play better video games. Nothing like saving the world. There are some important differences between me and Tony Stark, like I have 5 kids, so I spend more time going to Disneyland than parties. With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. In all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, it's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. Optimism, pessimism, FK that, we're going to make it happen. As God is my bloody witness, I'm hell-bent on making it work. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. If you're co-founder or CEO, you have to do all kinds of tasks you might not want to do. If you don't do your chores, the company won't succeed. No task is too menial. You could power the entire United States with about 150 to 200 square kilometers of solar panels, the entire United States. Take a corner of Utah. There's not much going on there. I've been there. There's not even radio stations. Don't delude yourself into thinking something's working when it's not, or you're gonna get fixated on a bad solution. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. I always invest my own money in the companies that I create. I don't believe in the whole thing of just using other people's money. I don't think that's right. I'm not going to ask other people to invest in something if I'm not prepared to do so myself. It is a mistake to hire huge numbers of people to get a complicated job done. Numbers will never compensate for talent in getting the right answer. 2 people who don't know something or know better than one will tend to slow down progress, and will make the task incredibly expensive. Starting and growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive, and determination of the people behind it as the product they sell. A company is a group organized to create a product or service, and it is only as good as its people and how excited they are about creating. I do want to recognize a ton of super talented people. I just happen to be the face of the companies. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100 hour weeks every week. This improves the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve. I always have optimism, but I'm realistic. It was not with the expectation of great success that I started Tesla or SpaceX. It's just that I thought they were important enough to do anyway. I do think there is a lot of potential if you have a compelling product and people are willing to pay a premium for that. I think that is what Apple has shown. You can buy a much cheaper cell phone or laptop, but Apple's product is so much better than the alternative, and people are willing to pay that premium. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. When somebody has a breakthrough innovation, it is rarely one little thing. Very rarely is it one little thing. It's usually a whole bunch of things that collectively amount to a huge innovation. I don't believe in the process. In fact, when I interview a potential employee and he or she says that it's all about the process, I see that as a bad sign. The problem is that in a lot of big companies, the process becomes a substitute for thinking. You're encouraged to behave like a little gear in a complex machine. Frankly, it allows you to keep people who aren't that smart, who aren't that creative. There are really two things that have to occur in order for new technology to be affordable to the mass market. One is you need economies of scale. The other is you need to iterate on the design. You need to go through a few versions. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future and wondrous, new technology where you see it, and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. If something has to be designed and invented, and you have to figure out how to ensure that the value of the thing you create is greater than the cost of the inputs, then that is probably my core skill. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less because it's very distracting and fries my nervous system. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah, what's wrong with the horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. I would just question things. It would infuriate my parents. That I wouldn't just believe them when they said something cause I'd ask them why. And then I'd consider whether that response made sense given everything else I knew. There are really two things that have to occur in order for a new technology to be affordable to the mass market. One is you need economies of scale. The other is you need to iterate on the design. You need to go through a few versions. Talent is extremely important. It's like a sports team, the team that has the best individual player will often win. But then there's a multiplier from how those players work together and the strategy they employ. I think the best way to attract venture capital is to try and come up with a demonstration of whatever product or service it is and ideally take that as far as you can. Just see if you can sell that to real customers and start generating some momentum. The further along you can get with that, the more likely you are to get funding.